On this section, we will discuss about some of the questions related to the parallel lines and the perpendicular lines when it comes to the straight lines equation itself. Now, before getting into the video, first thing, what do you mean by these parallel lines and perpendicular lines? That is the first thing that we are going to discuss now. So, parallel lines. Parallel lines. And for that, let's consider two lines. First line and second line. And parallel lines means lines which always maintain a constant distance throughout. That means the distance here would be same as this line, would be same as this distance. That means this distance doesn't change. It will always be the exact same distance between these two lines. Or I can say these two lines never cross each other. Such lines are called as parallel lines. Now the next one is the perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines. Okay. And for that, let's consider two lines itself. Okay, so here I'm having two lines, and any line that is cutting each other in such a way that they are making a 90-degree at the point of cross section is nothing but called as perpendicular lines. So perpendicular lines meet together, and at the point of their meeting, the angle created will be 90-degree as well. So here that is 90-degree. In this case, it was same distance. Same distance. So that is what we mean by this parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Now, there is a small relation between the slopes of parallel lines and perpendicular lines. For that, let's consider the first line is having a slope of m1 and second line is having a slope of m2. And let's say I'm having one more line. Let's say I'm having another line like this, which is also parallel to the other two, and the slope being, it is m3. And in the case of parallel lines, the slope m1, m2, m3, all of them will be the exact same. Or I can say that m1 is equal to m2 equal to m3. So the slopes of all parallel lines will always be the exact same. Now moving on to the next one, the perpendicular lines. So for this one, let's say the slope of my first line, this being, let's say this being m1 and the second line being m2. And in the case of perpendicular lines, it states that m1 times m2 would be equal to -1. So the product of my slopes of perpendicular lines will be equal to -1. That is the relationship between the slopes of parallel lines and perpendicular lines. Now they can ask a variety of questions based upon these parallel lines and perpendicular lines, and they can ask about the equation of a straight line based upon these relations and all. One of the example, let's say they are giving the value of m1 as, let's say, 2. And they are saying that the second line, this particular line is having a coordinate, let it be 2, 3. They can ask that I'm having a line with one of the coordinate or one of the point being 2, 3, and that line is parallel to another line whose slope is 2 there. They will be asking to find out the equation of this particular line then. Now, on the previous video, we saw that to find out the equation of a line, we require only two information, a slope and a point. I'm having the point of this line, but what about the slope? They have given the slope of the parallel line, and I know that since they are both parallel, the slope should be same. So here also it's going to be 2. So I got the slope, I got the point, so I can find the equation easily by that. And like the same way in the case of perpendicular lines, one of the example is that they can say the one of the coordinate, let's say m2 being 3, and they're asking us to find out this particular line's equation, and they can give either one of the coordinate or intercepts like that. Let's say here also they are giving it as 2, 3. Now I got the point there, but I need to find out M1. And in the question itself, they will say that these two lines are perpendicular and the slope of the perpendicular line as 3. And I know the relation M1 times M2 equal to -1. So I need to find out M1 from that. So M1 times, what is M2? M2 is 3. 3 equal to -1. And from that M1 equal to -1/3. And I got the slope of this line and one of the coordinate. I can find the equation easily. By that, they can ask a variety of questions based upon these parallel and perpendicular lines and the relationship between the slopes and all. It's very important. You have to go through it thoroughly. So that's all about the series of straight lines. If you're having any doubt, please comment it below and tell me what you would like to see on my next video as well. Take care. Bye.